In this example, I want to demonstrate how to create a mesh of membrane elements inside a framed section, but where your mesh is only connected to your frame in a few specific locations. For this example, we have a mesh that's connected in 7 unique points, and the rest of the edges of that mesh are free to take curvature and move inward from the frame. So this is my starting spot. I have a work-line frame with 7 nodes, and these nodes will become my anchor points for that mesh. I have also, in the setup environment, gone ahead and set my units. I have a default membrane prestress. I have a default cable prestress, which I have in the form of a length to sag ratio. Under files, I've also gone ahead and set up just some default library files. Hit OK there. And finally, under property, node degrees of freedom, I've gone ahead and I've fixed each one of the nodes where I want my membrane mesh connected to. So that is my starting spot. Click Finish. We'll come back to the model environment, and now we can get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm simply going to generate under Build, Generate a mesh of membrane elements. Click on Membrane. And this time I'm going to use the mesh type of stretch, which is very handy here. So I select stretch, and then I simply just follow the instructions over here in the right-hand vertical column. I'll also note before I get started that my warp and fill segments, I have 10 for both of those. I've selected that just because I know that will look nice on this example. So following the instructions here, I will first click on quote unquote red nodes or the fixed nodes to help define the perimeter for my mesh. Then I will go back around my workline frame and click on 4 nodes that best define the corners. So first I'll click on all of my nodes here because all of the nodes that you can see is where I want my mesh to be anchored. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Come back to the starting one again to close the loop. Now I will click on my 4 corners, 1, 2, 3, 4. And as soon as I click on my 4th corner, my mesh generates. It all looks very nice and clean. You can see here from the top, I have 10 by 10 for my warp and fill. So that is what I've gotten. And you can also see that I now have perimeter cables were automatically generated for me. And that's because right in here, I had the checkbox checked for perimeter cables. And these perimeter cables are tied into the membrane, and you will see here in a minute that they are only connected to my work line frame at those specific anchor points. So this looks good. Let's go ahead and click Finish. Let's come back up into Setup and do the quick and easy way of applying our default material and section properties as well as pre-stresses. So I will hit Assign Property Sets, Assign Pre-stresses, hit OK. I'm good to go there. Let's come back over real quick into the property environment, just double check our node degrees of freedom. Okay, perfect. Nothing has been changed here from where I started, and all of my fixed nodes have stayed fixed, so nothing got messed up there. Go ahead and click Finish. Let's come over to the shape environment. I'm going to do cable and membrane shaping. I always like to do a quick check data. Model data has been checked. No warnings or errors found. Now I know I'm good. I'm going to go ahead and click Continue. I'm going to leave pretty much everything here set as the defaults. The number of iterations I could change if I wanted 100. I like that. That should be more than enough iterations for this simple structure. These settings look good. I'll go ahead and click Go. It starts to run immediately. It has converged after 52 iterations. Now, I'm going to want to edit this a little further. However, this gave me exactly what I wanted it to at the moment. It's not finished, but I'm happy with this for an initial shape. I'll go ahead and click Finish. And now what we have here is you can see we still have our unedited workline frame, our mesh of membrane elements, and you can see that it is connected at every one of our connection points. And the curvature in our perimeter cables has taken that length to sag ratio 14, that default pre-stress that we assigned. Now I think this looks good along the tops and the side. This is a little more curvature than I want at the bottom. However, it gave me exactly what I asked it to give me to start. So I will go ahead and come back to the model environment. Now we can quickly play around with this, make this look just a little bit better. So I think to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and use the arc feature. Arc. Let's go cables by string. Again, I like the way all this looks. I'm just going to play with this one for a moment. So let's change this one. Let's select that string, right click. Now you can see right here, NDN gives you all of the information on that cable. It's also populating in for me this length to sag ratio. This was the default that I told NTN to use to start. So let's change this a little bit. Let's see, and you'll get a preview here. Let's see, what does it look if I enter 25? Okay, this is how my curvature would shrink up if I had 25. Let's shrink that up some more. Let's go 30. Okay, I like that. So that's what a length to sag ratio of 30 looks like. Let's say I want to accept that. I simply right click once, right click again, right click a third time. Perfect. I've now changed that curvature. It has messed up my mesh just slightly. It's not quite as clean. So let's go in and smooth that to clean this up a little bit. So now I simply, again, from the model environment, I'll come over here, I'll use the smooth feature. I'm going to smooth, and for this, I'm just going to have it smooth it into the average position for the nodes. I'll go ahead and click OK. I'll select membrane, all. All right, it smoothed that out. That looks much better. Okay, get out of that. Taking a look at this, okay, this looks pretty good. I might want to clean up a few of these membrane elements. Like, for example, I have a really long, skinny section of membrane elements here. I'm just going to swap these real quick, make this look a little cleaner in a couple spots. So here in the model environment, again, let's use the swap feature. Just going to swap those right there. Okay, I like that a little bit better. And again, using the swap, this does not affect the top and bottom of your membrane elements. It simply changes the orientation of how the cuts are made. That looks pretty good. Everything else there looks pretty good. Okay, right click to get out of the command. So let's see, now I think the only last few things I'll do is, let's see, first let's go ahead and let's now change our work line frame to a beam element frame, since that's what it's going to be in real life. So again, in the model environment, I'll just come over here and select type. I want to change the type to beams, and then I don't have too many of these, so I will just do these individually. Then I'll just click on each one of my work line elements, and then once I right click, they will become beam elements. Okay, right click. Okay, they're now beam elements. I'll also go ahead and subdivide these so that each section is not just one piece. Let's use the subdivide feature. Let's see, for these sides and the top, I'll make those a different number of segments than the bottom. Let's go 3 for the sides and the top. So okay, select beams individually. I'll select these individually. Okay, right click. Okay, those are subdivided into 3 sections. Let's do the bottom one here. I'll do a few more sections there. Let's change this 3 to 6. Okay, beams individual, that one, break it into 6. Okay, that looks good. Then I think the only other thing I'll do here before we call this example complete is you can see these cables right now are still purple, which is that constant force cable, which allows the curvature to be set as we're shaping. Now that I'm happy with the curvature in my cables, I will go ahead and change those from the purple cable, the constant force cables, to the pink cables, which are constant length cables. So as I would continue to go through and play with this, my cable curvature won't really change. So let's go ahead again in type. Right now we're at this constant force, which is this kind of dark purple. I want to change it to the constant length, which is this pink. So let's select that. Let's go by string, and I'll just run around each string here and change these to constant length cables. And you can see as I do, they become pink. Just take me one more second here. I also could have selected cables all and done this all at once, but I didn't think of that until I was almost finished. So there you go. There's a quick example of how you can create a mesh of membrane elements inside a frame, but where that mesh is only connected to the frame in a few specific locations.